Yeah, well, here's what I would say first. In the entire data science space, it is so big, you're never going to know it all. And that is okay. But there are certain parts of it that you should know. And that's why I always tell people start a project, find something that you're interested in, and figure out how you can start collecting some data around that. And then how can you turn that data into some predictive models for whatever it is that you want to do. And here's what you'll find along the way. It is better to come up with a project that you're interested in because then you're internally motivated to work on it. And it's better than if I were to just give you a checklist that said, go learn R, go learn Python, go learn, Power BI, go learn SQL. I can give you a checklist, and the checklist honestly would be so big, it's overwhelming. Whereas if you come up with a project, then you're sort of motivated to work on it. But here's the thing, once you start a project, you'll get started on a project, and the first thing you'll say to yourself is, well, after you've identified a project, that's the first problem is actually identifying a project. And that one doesn't go away. Even in the business, knowing what questions to ask and knowing what problems to focus on is hard. It is hard. But once you find that project, then now you get into the parts of a data science project that every data science project you're going to deal with anywhere has the same types of things. You're going to get to the question of how do I get this data? Or if I have this data, where am I going to store it so that I can quickly access it? And before you know it, you'll start thinking, well, it would be a whole lot easier if this data wasn't stored on my local machine, if I stored it, out in the cloud somewhere. And then you're going to start looking at, where can I store this information? Can I store it out in Amazon AWS? Can I store it in Microsoft Azure? Is there somewhere on Google that I can store it? And you'll start learning that. And then you'll be like, well, now that it's there, I need to get access to it programmatically. So you start looking at some R packages to access the cloud wherever you have it stored in Google or Microsoft or Amazon. And maybe you decide to put it in a database instead of just out into cloud storage. And before you know it, you've started teaching yourself a little bit about cloud storage, a little bit about databases. You're figuring out how to programmatically access your databases and your cloud storage. So you've started to learn a little about the cloud. You started to learn a little bit about programming, a little bit about SQL. And then you get to the point you'll be like, well, here's how I actually want to run a model. And before you know it, you start to learn a whole bunch of things and you start to get yourself some experience doing a number of things, and nobody made a checklist for you. And you work on the ones that you find are interesting at the current time, and over a long enough time, pretty soon you've got a cool project to talk about. And the other thing I say, whenever you have your own projects, they are great to talk about whenever you go to an interview, because your face lights up and you get excited when you start talking about your own project. And nobody else in the world can talk about that project. It's yours. And it's great. It shows your interest in the world of data science. It shows you have experience doing things on your own, identifying problems, figuring out how to solve them. And I just think coming up with a project and doing a project is a great way to learn anything.